Hello. Today's conversation is with an old friend of mine, Erik Gibelyou, who is a classical guitarist and music educator and member of the guitar trio, Trio Ghidorah. Erik and I met back at the University of Wisconsin-Madison when I was working on my bachelor's in music composition and he was working on his master's in classical guitar and music theory. And we have a pretty far-reaching conversation that gets into a lot of territory. We talk about maintaining a musical career during the pandemic, music in academia and what its purpose is. We talk about community, and we talk about his guitar trio, Trio Ghidorah, who has a new album out, just released this month. The album is available to stream wherever you listen to your music. It is called Dances and Fantasies, and it is also available to purchase on CD. So if you like physical copies of music, you should order a copy of the CD. But before we get to all that, please remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please visit my Patreon page. Welcome to Music in Mind with Anthony Calkin.
Hello.
Hey everybody, this is my friend Erik Gibelyou. He is a classical guitarist and a member of the Trio Ghidorah, and they are coming out with a new album in a few days here. And Erik and I met back at the University of Wisconsin-Madison when I was an undergrad, and Erik was working on your master's, right?
I was doing kind of two masters at the same time back at UW-Madison, and that was one in guitar and one in music theory. So we met on the guitar side of things.
Yes, yeah. We were both taking lessons with Javier Calderon and
Sure were.
playing in guitar ensemble.
Yep, with Eric Anderson and
a
slew of other people, I think.
Yeah. Those were good days.
They were fun. Yeah.
So I know less about your theory work at UW. What was your focus? Or in the master's level, do you have to write a thesis there?
You do. They call it a master's paper at UW-Madison. So not as intense, obviously, as a dissertation. And what they like you to do at the master's level is write basically two big term papers. So those are your master's papers. They're kind of beefed up term papers that are supposed to be paired with theory seminars that you do. Okay. So for me, one of them was a Schenkerian analysis paper because I was, two reasons. One is I was taking a seminar on Schenkerian analysis with Dr. Brian Heyer. And then the other reason is Brian was my advisor. So
great.
Those kind of went together pretty well. So that was a Schenkerian analysis of a Bach prelude in G minor from the Well-Tempered Clavier.
Not the C. It'd be amazing if you did your own Schenkerian analysis of the C major prelude. The one with the classic Schenkerian.
Right. The one that's been done a million times. Yeah. And then the other paper was a post-tonal analysis paper, and I wrote that with Professor John Schaefer.
Okay, cool.
And I'm not actually sure if he's still teaching at Madison, but I wrote my paper with him, and that was on a guitar piece actually by Hans Werner Henze, and the piece is called Drei Tentos, 3 tentos or tientos, which are basically like these short little pieces.
Cool.
And they come from a larger work that Henze wrote for not just guitar, but kind of a fairly large chamber ensemble. But these 3 pieces were little guitar solos kind of spaced throughout.
That's interesting.
Yeah. They just really kind of captivated me. They were one of the first, I would say, one of the first atonal pieces that I learned. And so I don't know if it's true of everyone, but the first time I learned an atonal piece, I was just kind of enamored and also very confused.
Interesting. Well, I feel like a lot of people, their first response is sort of rejecting it.
Yes.
Anger, right?
Right. Anger at, I don't know, just not understanding it, I
Right.
guess. But but yeah, I was really, I wanted to know, I wanted to understand. So I kind of stuck with that piece. Actually, it's funny that you asked that, because I just brought that piece back, because it's kind of relevant to something that I'm doing right now, which is recording guitar pieces from the mid 20th century.
Yeah. I've seen some of your posts on that. So what is the project?
Yeah, the project is basically a reason for me to actually learn these pieces.
Sure.
Essentially, what I wanted to do initially was present a group of guitar pieces written in like the 1940s and 50s at a museum in Midland, Michigan, which has a lot of what they call these mid-century modern homes.
Okay.
And it's kind of an interesting history. But you might know Dow Chemical, this
Right.
really big corporation,
Yeah.
which is, one of their headquarters is in Midland. But one of the sons of the Dow who started that corporation was an architect, and he studied with Frank Lloyd Wright and was very inspired by him. And anyway, there's a lot of these homes in Midland, Michigan, and the home and studio of the architect Dow is now a museum. And sometimes they hold concerts there. And so I wanted to do a guitar concert of music that was written during the time that all of these homes were built.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it'd be really interesting, and still do. But anyway, that never happened because COVID did happen.
Of course. Right.
But I was kind of sitting on these pieces, and I think they're really cool and really interesting and quite a diverse array of guitar music. So starting this series was a way for me to work my way through those pieces and really actually learn them. And what I'm doing is recording one every week is kind of the idea, and then releasing it on social media, so YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and that sort of thing.
That's great. One a week is a lot too.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of work.
It's more than I expected for some. I don't know why I didn't expect for it to be a lot of work, but it's good motivation for my practice.
Right.
And
learning music's hard.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It is hard. It is hard. Yeah. And some of them I am truly like learning from scratch, so that's really tough. And others I have some familiarity with, so it's a little bit easier. But yeah, getting it up to recording level is a lot of work. Yeah.
Well, what's the repertoire, the mid-century guitar repertoire?
Yeah. Well, I tried to be pretty diverse and grab composers from all over the world and in a bunch of different styles. So I kind of have a South American group, which includes Argentine composer Antonio Lauro.
Right. Okay.
Venezuelan composer Antonio Lauro, and he wrote a bunch of these waltzes, which yeah, very typical. Yeah, you probably have heard them as a guitarist.
I've been like out of the classical guitar world long enough that I like the repertoire is a little faded for me.
Yeah,
but it's coming back. You're helping.
Cool. Yeah, the Lauro waltzes are really lovely, very fun. I'm also doing some Heitor Villa-Lobos, so Brazilian composer there, and doing some Spanish works, some more kind of like traditional sounding Spanish stuff with Federico Moreno Torroba, who's a composer who wrote a lot for Segovia, Andres Segovia, but he has a lot of pieces from this era, 1940s and 50s. And then I am doing a few English pieces, or British pieces, I guess you could say. And these are all having to do with Julian Bream, actually, these British pieces.
Cool.
And this was another area of interest for me when I was a doctoral student, is early Julian Bream repertoire and kind of like his beginnings and how he started off. So yeah, I learned about some of those early pieces. So Reginald Smith Brindle is one of these British composers. I just recorded his Nocturne. And Lennox
Barkley. A lot of nocturnes and bagatelles.
Yeah, aren't
from
there?
English composers in that era, right? Like
with those Brits, yeah. Nocturnal.
Right, Benjamin the Britten. Yeah. That's a fun one. I liked it. Are you doing that one?
I love that piece. I could do snippets of it, but it's like a 15-minute long work.
Right, I see.
And that'd be a bit much for my format with the series. But I have learned that piece before, and I think it's really awesome. Spain, Britain, Venezuela, Brazil, Germany. Technically, I mentioned that Hans Werner Henze piece.
Right.
So that will be in there as well. And I think that's probably about where I'll wrap it up. That's going to be about 10 to 12 installments of the series, and I feel like that's enough. I can probably end it there and maybe move on to something.
You could probably do a series for years. Just an unending one mid-century piece a week, go all over the world, go through, East Asia, Korean pieces.
I think, Vietnamese you could. Pieces.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, it's a finite list, There's not going to be any new pieces added to the mid-century,
Right, so you could get through it.
List. I could finish it eventually. But, yeah, I don't...
It'd be an interesting thing to be an expert in.
Yeah, right. And because it's probably like hundreds, if not thousands of pieces for guitar. But anyway, yeah. But I mean, speaking of series though, for me, this has been like great motivation to practice. It keeps me, it holds me accountable, or I guess I'm holding myself accountable by hitting a deadline. How do you feel about your podcast and you as something that sort of propels you forward?
Yeah, I think the practice issue is it's interesting, especially in the last year with COVID, about having a process and having deadlines and having something to work towards. I think it has been extremely important because it's really easy just to sort of let weeks and weeks go by and really nothing's happening. And I think with the way a lot of musicians are, I think that's also sort of easy for them to do, which is weird because, there's sort of the musicians are sort of compelled to play music, but at the same time, I think a lot of musicians have a hard time existing in the rigidity of sort of the world, 9 to 5s and things like that. And for that reason, probably if they don't have a lot of deadlines and they don't have gigs and they don't have commissions and things like that, it's hard to maintain a real schedule of things. But something like a podcast or like your series, I think is incredibly helpful and has also, I think, pushed me to be better about doing other things. Like I've been practicing guitar more than ever also. I don't know if I'm a better guitar player because also there's this weird thing about when you're only practicing and you're only playing for yourself, you lose certain other skills like playing in front of a crowd. So sometimes I'll do things like I'll just slap on a Twitch stream while I'm practicing just to like make myself nervous to practice that the like semi-publicness of it.
Right.
Because I was performing like before the pandemic, I was gigging regularly around LA, and so I was mostly like pit orchestras from the musical theater scene.
Right. Yeah.
But that'd be like 6 shows a week.
Wow.
So then like I was pretty used to it, and then just nothing.
Yeah.
But now even like a Twitch stream, like I get nervous again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I feel the same way because, I've done a few live shows in the past, during the pandemic. And of course there were all these live streams, these virtual things. But even so, that's a handful, maybe maybe 4 since the pandemic started. Yeah, 4 or 5 maybe. So I'm feeling that too. And I'm in this weird kind of space now where I'm doing this series, so I kind of am preparing not really for a performance. I'm preparing for a recording, and somehow that feels different.
Yeah.
Like I'm really trying to be perfect about things. And I know I can do a lot of takes,
Yes,
so
right.
it's a different kind of mindset, I think. And I'm doing it on this micro level where I can really be crazy about one piece per week, and I don't have to worry about playing a full program of music.
Right, right, of course.
So it's very different. And I think I would feel the same way if suddenly I were doing live shows in front of people. I imagine I would be more nervous than I have been in a year or a couple of years or something like that.
Well, you've done some streams, right? And like with your trio, you all did a stream a month or 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah. I think our last one was December 4th.
Okay. Yeah.
So a couple of months ago. But we'll be doing another one this weekend,
Nice.
coming up here Saturday to celebrate our album release, the release of our debut album. But yeah, we have done live streams, and that was mainly motivated by our Kickstarter project, which helped fund our album. So promotion for that and getting donations and raising money. Those were our biggest motivators for actually doing these live streams. Because it's a lot harder now since 2 out of 3 of us live in Rochester, New York, and I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So to actually get together, because we would physically need to be together to do a live stream concert. So it's just harder to do.
Right.
And I've done one solo live stream, I think. I've done one, at least one, in September, and I'll do another couple in the next couple of months here. But yeah, that's all it's been. I haven't done a real live show since I don't even know if I did one in 2020, honestly.
Man,
maybe
that's
2019.
crazy.
It's very crazy, yeah.
Do you miss it? Do you miss performing live?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Like, these recordings are nice. It's nice to have something logged or concrete that just sort of exists and people can find it, and you can, it'll always be there. But it's just all so less satisfying and rewarding.
Right.
And yeah, I'm being kind of anal about the recordings and really trying to be perfect, but I'm not worried so much about those sorts of things when I play a live show.
Right.
And usually those things aren't really noticed in a live performance anyway by most people. But you get so much more sustenance from the people. And from their feedback and just from talking to them and interacting with them that you don't get when you're making recordings or when you're doing live streams. It's just silence after every piece. And
maybe you get like
tough.
bubble hearts that come up.
Yeah, you might get bubble hearts or little messages.
That's kind of fun.
That's nice in a way. Little visual kind of thing. But yeah, it's weird to just be kind of in a vacuum sonically, and there's no sound coming back to you.
Right. It's very, very weird.
Yeah. Have you done any performing? You say you do like Twitch for when you practice.
Yeah.
Have you done any live stream performing?
I guess I do the improvisations on the podcast. Not really. I had one gig last, I think it was October. It was in that period before stuff got more locked down again. It was like it sort of seemed like things were easing just a little, and a nursing home hired me to do an outdoor concert.
Nice.
With like the people in the nursing home on the balconies. It was just like play some solo jazz guitar.
Wow.
But that was like so weird because I hadn't played live since March, and so I was like really, really nervous. And so like for a week, every night I just ran my set on Twitch. But no, it hasn't been a regular thing. Mm-hmm. I think I have this problem where I don't love playing solo anyway. Mm-hmm. I prefer playing with other people. And I feel like that's what the fun of music is to me, is the connection with other people and the connection with the audience. Mm-hmm. And I think my favorite part of a concert is after the concert, if you've like worked really hard and like there's that like exhaustion, but at the same time, like, let's go get a beer.
Right.
And that's my favorite, like the beer after a fun concert.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's everyone's favorite. That's the best part.
Yeah, of course. That's like what it's about.
Yeah, the stress is over, mm-hmm. and you're celebrating, and that's great. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? The solo performing, since you're a classical guitar player, I feel like solo performance is a huge piece of the practice.
It is. Yeah. I think both are really great and really wonderful, mm-hmm. playing solo and playing with others. For me, I like to have both of those as kind of part of the musical existence. Right. Mm-hmm. Collaborating, I always learn things when I collaborate with other people, and I feel like what you create is a little bit different. There's more minds that kind of shape it and bring it to life. And it's, I don't know, there's almost, I think there's theater in any kind of performance. And when there's multiple people, it's in a way like there's multiple characters rather than just kind of giving a monologue when you're doing a solo by yourself. So I think it's really interesting and wonderful to play with others. Mm-hmm. But in terms of playing solo, I think what I like about it is the control over so many little details. Right. And I'm finding that I like playing solo pieces that have a lot of depth in those details. Uh-huh. So things where a change, slight changes in dynamics or tone mm-hmm. color and that sort of thing are really important. Yeah. So like playing music by Toru Takemitsu, I really enjoy mm-hmm. because that sort of thing is really prominent and important mm-hmm. in performing that kind of music. This Hans Werner Henze piece, the Drei Tentos, that's really important. And I think maybe that inherently comes through in these more kind of modern, abstract, atonal pieces where you aren't just hanging on a melody for your meaning, but there's all these other details that need to come out. So I really like working up those kinds of details mm-hmm. and conveying those in a solo performance. But I think there's also an intimacy in performing solo where mm-hmm. you get a pretty deep connection with your listeners, or at least that's possible. It doesn't always happen, but you have the potential of a deep connection. Yeah. And I think that's really, really fantastic as well. So,
I mean, I think I agree. I think it's amazing if you can achieve it. Mm-hmm. I especially with classical guitar, most of my memories is just being not prepared for masterclass every week, and so there's no real connection happening. You're like, when is this going to be over? The audience is like, when is this going to be over?
Nobody's enjoying this. I'm wasting everyone's time. I need to get off the stage as soon as possible. Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think it can be very special if you can actually mm-hmm. cultivate it.
I think so too. Yeah.
Do you feel like theory, your studying of theory, helps you to build that with solo performance?
I think it does. To just give like a general answer first. Well, and of course, that's what I tell all the undergraduates that I teach as well. Theory is very important for all of these reasons.
But why?
But why? So for me, knowing and understanding theory is kind of revealing or deepening meaning in music. So kind of understanding it better. For me, that's the point of knowing theory or understanding it, is to understand meaning better. So for me, I feel like having studied theory and done a bunch of different kinds of analyses, that I can find what's important about a piece of music probably faster. The longer that I spend studying and thinking about these things, I think the faster I can get to that point with a piece of music. And
I agree.
So yeah, I think that uncovering the meaning, bringing out the meaning is the most important part of performing something, because what is performance other than conveying meaning? So yeah, like if you're going to play a Baroque piece and not understand anything about the harmonic progressions or the use of dissonances or ornamentation, then it's probably not going to come across very meaningful. Whereas if you do understand those things, you'll be able to speak that language a lot better, and your listeners will probably understand that a lot better as well. And I think that's true of any genre or period of
Although
music.
It could also be the quirkiest, most interesting interpretation anybody's ever heard.
Yeah, it could just be really weird, and it might be valuable for that reason, for its weirdness.
I've been thinking a lot about Ed Cohn's idea of first, second, and third readings.
Ooh. Right.
Do you know that one? Yeah. That's
I've been like Brian Heyer reading.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been.
It might have been.
It should have been.
Right. It's kind of like reading the mystery novel or something like
exactly.
that.
Yep. Exactly. But the idea that sort of like theorizing in a Schenkerian way is sort of like it's a very second reading thing. So stopping there is a problem, because it's taking away the fact that music happens over time. And so then that third reading is something I've been really trying to get into my practice lately.
Wow.
About sort of being on top of it and in it at the same time.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. So how do you try to occupy both of those spaces at the same time?
It's difficult. I find that, I mean, I can't truly multitask, but if I can sort of move seamlessly between like the one I've been revisiting is the Villa-Lobos Choros #1, right? The first one in the book.
Yeah. Right.
but hearing the suspensions and resolutions, and like knowing that they're suspensions and resolutions, but then having that inform sort of the meaning and the idea that sort of the first time as it's going through the progression, it has all these suspensions and like funny chords, and then it winds up finally at the end in just like a beautiful E minor with the harmonics.
Right.
And it's sort of like that mystery novel thing. Like you're trying to get there and trying to get there. And so it's a story told through theory, I guess.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like there's many attempts to get there, and, to understand the failed attempts leading up to the successful one at the end. Yeah.
And I feel like the failed attempts thing is a little cliche, but
sure.
But I guess it doesn't matter. I feel like what you're thinking in your head can be really stupid and simple, because nobody knows that. They're just hearing sounds, and the sounds are already elevating it to an abstract space anyway. So
yeah, totally true. Yeah.
So the Schenker part is interesting too. Have you been following any of the Schenker controversy that's going around?
I have not. Okay. I've not been keeping up with my Schenkerian gossip.
Okay.
So fill me in. What's going on?
I think there's a big movement against Schenkerian analysis. I think there's sort of two sides to it. There's one side that Schenker himself is sort of a problematic figure in history, given sort of his own political and social views, and then sort of what he represented in terms of sort of the assertion of music theory over the academic world, suggesting that like the theory of Bach is music theory, and that's the standard, and that's what all theory is, or something like that.
Right.
But then I think there's also a secondary argument that reductionist music theory is sort of missing the point of most music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my opinion of Schenkerian analysis is that it shows some really interesting concepts for understanding music.
Yeah.
And those concepts work really well for certain kinds of music. Yeah. But I don't think you can say that they work for all kinds of music.
Of course.
You know, I guess they probably work best for Bach. And
they work perfectly Beethoven. For Bach, right?
Right. That's what they're modeled after, right? And they kind of work for Beethoven, but after that, you know, not so good. Hard to do Schenkerian with Debussy. Some people try, or you know, George Crumb. Probably really hard to do Schenkerian analysis.
It'd be amazing if it happened to work out perfectly for George Crumb also.
I would be impressed. Yeah. But I think so. This semester, I'm teaching a musical analysis course, and it's a lot of fun. But it's for undergraduates. So I've mentioned Schenker's name, and I've maybe shown one of his graphs once, but I'm not trying to teach that to them. Some similar concepts I am trying to teach, like longer term melodic connections, and kind of some underlying harmonic implications throughout your melody, that sort of thing. But I mean, Schenker is like, it's very, very complex and detailed. And after spending a full semester studying it with Brian Heyer, who is an expert, I was maybe just starting to get the hang of it.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a very specialist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how useful that is for everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think it shows some really cool concepts for understanding music and analyzing music, and that's great. But it's certainly not, you know, a religion that we need to all subscribe to.
Well, were you a TA for Brian Heyer also?
I was. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Well, so you know his undergraduate course also.
Yes, I do. His freshman theory course.
Yeah. Because I've
taken it 3 times.
Oh, so you really know it.
Yeah. I was a TA for that course 3 years in a row.
That is crazy. So you could teach it.
You know, like, it's funny because I spent maybe 4 years not teaching freshman theory when I was doing my doctorate. And then this past year, I did teach freshman theory. And I was amazed by just how much of that came back to me that first year theory with Brian Heyer. It's rich. It's rich. And I think it's something, if you still have the course materials, you know, like, go back and kind of read.
I do. I revisit the Species Counterpoint Manual a lot, actually.
I love it. He would be happy to hear that. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. And he clearly put a lot of effort into building that curriculum over many years and reshaping it and tweaking it. And it's very rich. There's nothing there that doesn't have a purpose, which is amazing.
But I feel like it's broadly very Schenkerian in concept. It's interesting that now you're teaching a music analysis class yourself. Do you have some kind of broad concept or goal in mind with how you're trying to help people think about music?
Yeah. For me, and for my students at this particular college, my goal for this analysis course is basically showing them some interesting ways to look at music, give them a variety of ways to look at it, and not do anything like really profound, other than, show some ways to kind of understand music better, which I guess is profound in itself. But, most of them will be music educators in the sense that they'll be teaching like K-12 music. So I don't think they need to go very far down the rabbit hole of different methods of analysis. But talking about how you can analyze melody, or understand the use of motivic material, or understand some like rhythmic construction and rhythmic modes of analysis, and understanding some forms and how that structures music. Like getting a taste of each of those is what I'm trying to do with this class this semester. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it for music majors?
It is. It's for music majors. And again, most of them are music education majors. So their goal is to be teaching music in schools. And then maybe a couple performance majors in there as well. And then once in a while, a kid will want to go on to graduate school, but for music. But for the most part, this is kind of the end of the road for them in music theory. So yeah.
Are you teaching guitar also?
I am. I am teaching applied lessons at this school, Saginaw Valley State University, which is in Saginaw, Michigan. And a little bit there. Most of my guitar teaching is with my private students. So I've got right now 10 to 12 students in, I guess you could say, my private studio. And all of those are Zoom lessons at the moment.
How has that been? How do you feel about teaching over Zoom?
Man.
I actually like it, by the way. That's why I'm asking, because it sounds like a boring question. But
Right. I think at first, I'll walk you through. At first, I was grateful for it because it meant I could keep my students.
Right, of course.
So I was very grateful for that. And then I thought, this is kind of efficient because I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to commute anymore. I can just kind of, do them back to back, and that's kind of nice. But then I really did them back to back, and I found that, oh my God, my eyes are killing me after 3 hours of Zoom lessons, because you're staring at the screen and you're squinting and seeing like where are they putting their fingers? Are they using the correct fingers? And so I think it's harder on your senses. Harder on your eyes and harder on your ears because for most students, especially if they're kids, they don't have nice audio equipment. They're just using whatever microphones on their laptop. So it doesn't sound very good. And usually there's extra kind of noise mixed in with that. So you're having to listen harder. And then you don't get like the endorphin boost of physically working with someone.
Yes.
I think, there's a difference between seeing their face on a screen and being in a room with them. So I found it more draining than working in person. I've gotten used to it, going on about a year now of doing it, which is crazy. But I've got 2 monitors now, which makes life a lot easier, and then a USB microphone, and so I've made improvements that makes it easier for me. But if I have to teach like 3 hours of Zoom lessons in a row, I definitely am feeling it, and it's not a good feeling. But overall, I think you can still teach well and students still make progress, and it is convenient, which is nice. Why do you like it?
I think my students have made more progress over Zoom because I think I have a bad habit as a teacher of trying to help the students feel good about what they're playing, so accompanying them a lot to the point of sort of trying to elevate their playing, but sort of covering over a lot of the inconsistencies and sloppiness. And so if I'm on Zoom, I can't play with them. And so then they're forced to face what they can and can't play.
Right.
But I think the other problem is, especially something really delicate like classical guitar, getting into nuances over Zoom with poor audio, I think is probably almost impossible.
It's really hard. It's really hard, to talk about, dynamic subtleties, or, could you play that more tosto? Oh, you are?
Right, exactly. Oh, you are.
All right, it's hard to hear those subtleties.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, playing with students, that's the biggest void, I think, because of Zoom, is not being able to do that.
Yep.
That's tough.
Yep.
That's tough. But, like you said, it can be a crutch, maybe, for students to cover up their mistakes or whatever. But I think it also helps them to feel how it should go. And it's hard to convey that over Zoom.
Yep.
But that's all right, we do what we can.
So, your trio has a new album coming out, right?
We do, yeah. Our first album, a new one, and our first one, debut, Yep. Yeah, so it's coming out this Saturday, March 13th.
Okay.
And we've been
working on it for over a year. And it's a physical CD, right?
It's a physical CD.
That's amazing. That's fun.
Yep. We've printed them. We've got them. It's also, of course, available digitally. So people are able to download it digitally. You'll be able to stream it pretty much anywhere you might stream things, starting on Saturday, on March 13th. But yeah, we wanted to have a physical album for a couple of reasons. One is just, I don't know, the idea of one is, I think, something maybe romanticized, perhaps, for people of our age and older. You want to have like a physical thing. But we knew we wanted some album artwork, so we had a local Rochester artist make something for us, and we really love it. But we wanted to have a physical print of that, so that was part of it. And then we wanted to have something to sell after shows, just kind of like a practical sort of thing, because we know that that's a helpful thing to have. So we wanted to have that physical CD for those purposes. Yeah.
Do you have shows planned? Is there a tour to accompany the album?
Not at the moment. No, there is no tour. We're gonna have a big album release concert, which will be live streamed.
Okay.
But it'll be pretty special as far as live stream concerts go. We'll be doing it at Bop Shop Records in Rochester, New York, and they have a really nice setup. Where they can do high fidelity stereo audio.
Oh, great.
And they have, multiple camera angles. So I think it'll be a pretty nice production. And that live concert will be 8 p.m. March 13th, so the day of the release. So it'll be a fun celebration. And then eventually, we'll do a tour. Part of our Kickstarter rewards, you can offer rewards on Kickstarter for different levels of pledges. And for the higher levels, we offered private concerts. So in-person concerts. Yeah. And we had, surprisingly, a few people take us up on that. So we owe concerts in Michigan in a couple of places, and possibly in Rochester, New York as well. Yeah, yeah.
So would it be concerts for one person? And
Well, it can be for whatever they want it to be.
right,
They can
right.
invite whoever they want to.
Yeah.
We'll play for them, and we'll do it wherever they want. So in my mind, that could be a house concert, which
Right.
could be kind of fun in
Mm-hmm.
someone's living room, which should be nice and intimate. Or if they want to make it a bigger thing, then we could maybe do like a church or something
Right,
like
right,
that,
right.
rent out some space and do a larger scale concert. And we were in talks of playing on a couple of different festivals,
Mm.
which were put on hold, of
Right,
course.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, once we're able to, I think we'll try to hit the ground running
Uh-huh.
and make some concerts happen because
Uh-huh.
all of us really want to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. So did the trio? It started in Rochester, right? At Eastman.
It did. Yeah, all three of us were Eastman doctoral students of guitar at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Um, a slight dispersion of years.
Mm-hmm.
One was finishing as we were starting, but yeah, that was kind of the common connection, is that we were all doing our doctorates at Eastman, and I was doing some guitar duos with Bernardo, one of the other guys in the trio, and then Ken, the third of our trio, asked if we would all play on this benefit concert for refugees in Rochester, New York. And so we found some trio rep and played that concert and had a really positive reception.
Mm-hmm.
People were very thankful and really loved it. And actually, I got asked to play a concert the next day after that first concert.
Oh, great.
So we had some momentum going, and we decided to keep at it. And it ended up being a really nice thing for all three of us. All three of us have made our own arrangements, so taken music not for three guitars and put it on three guitars.
Right. Oh, you played the Stravinsky, was it the tango at your concert? Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, it's a very
such
cool
a cool piece.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a piano piece originally, and Ken arranged that for three guitars. And yeah, some things just work really well on three guitars, and that's kind of like what we experiment and eventually find and hold on to those pieces because they're really special. But yeah, Stravinsky, Mozart. And what else have we arranged? Philip Glass, so some minimalism, which works very, very well.
I bet,
actually. Yeah. I think the plucking of guitar works quite well with the sort of pulsing effect of Glass's music, and yeah, we've kind of sprinkled in some works for three guitars, intentionally written for three guitars into our repertoire as well, and it's kind of a mix. So yeah, it's been nice for us because we get to kind of do those projects where we make these arrangements and come together and kind of learn from each other as we're interpreting them and bringing them to life and tweaking them and all of that. And it's been a lot of fun. And that's probably the most important part.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think what's also really cool about it is I get the sense that a lot of doctoral programs, or at least students at the doctoral level, are less integrated into the community of the music school they're a part of. So I think it's really cool to have three doctoral students coming together and doing a project like that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it happens at the undergraduate and master's level a lot. But a lot of times students, by the time they're at the doctoral level, a lot of them have families, a lot of them live off campus even, and they kind of have a life that is separate from the rest of the music school.
I think that's quite true. And yeah, the community aspect of it was definitely a really valuable one for the three of us,
Mm-hmm.
because we became really good friends in this process, and we definitely value that a lot. But beyond our community of friendship, we also were engaging with our community around us
Right.
in ways that we probably wouldn't have done if we were just playing solo
Mm-hmm.
concerts, because we were, traveling around. Ken, one of the other trio members, Ken Luke, teaches at a few universities in the area, so we would go and do concerts at these schools, and different places around upstate New York. And once we're able to, I'll bring them out here to Michigan, and
Right.
we'll do the same thing out here. But it's a really nice way of kind of engaging and creating a community around our concerts and around our music, and sort of bringing together these different communities. Guitar societies are an important thing if you're a classical guitarist, especially. But Rochester has a really good one. There's a couple really good ones here in Michigan, and we're starting to get overlap between them.
Oh, great.
Cross pollination, because we're each involved with them, and we're doing these concerts, and they're learning about us. So yeah, it's a nice thing.
Yeah, it's also great to hear that you guys are going and playing outside of academic spaces.
Definitely, yeah.
I think there's a real problem. There's a disconnect that's sort of built into the fact that music exists in academia now, in that academia sort of inherently exists separately from society, and then all of this music happens in the world that has nothing to do with academic music, pop music, rock. It used to be jazz. Now jazz is basically academic music, right? But
right.
But
it's a funny thing, academia's relevance, and how does it fit in with community. I think in its defense, I think a lot of universities are making an effort to be more present in their communities and their surrounding communities. And I think you especially see this with music programs and music students, because you'll see a lot of community music schools, which are associated with universities. UW-Madison had one. Eastman School of Music has one. And their whole purpose is to bring in community members and have them study mostly with students of those music schools. And so I think academia is becoming a little less isolated or stratified in that sense. But you are correct in that it's an issue, I think, of accessibility in a lot of ways. Like you said, there's kind of music which exists in academia, and then there's everything else. And when you're in school, you study that academic music and you play that academic music. And then it can be a little weird when you kind of go out in the community and only play that academic music, because there can kind of be that barrier. Like you understand it because you've been studying it, but most other people don't understand. It's kind of like a foreign language. So that's an area I think academics, or at least students of music, need to navigate. And I think there's lots of ways to do it. You can kind of bring in little bits of unfamiliar things and sprinkle in your your Laurel waltzes in there to something a little more popular and accessible. I don't know. What's your take?
I don't know how much I think it has to do with accessibility. I think there's a lot of very challenging and strange music out there that is very popular. I see academic music as being whatever that means. I see music that is created within brick walls of universities as being very resistant to the show business side of things. The fact that if you go to an underground DJ concert and they're just making these crazy noises and everybody's ears are bleeding, that's really challenging and aggressive and whatever. Right. But they're also putting on a show, and I think I've noticed it a lot with classical guitar, but I think it happens with a lot of classical performers. Is they're so focused on sort of the music that they're not thinking about the fact that they are sort of also acting as an entertainer. Because most people don't want to sit and listen to a dissertation on a guitar.
Can't blame them for that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. True. Yeah. And it's kind of like that's one of the many, many things that you don't really learn in school, which are really important. How to be an entertainer, even when you're presenting classical music. Yep. Of course, that's important because that helps you connect your message to your audience. That's very important.
I think it sounds sort of cheap, but I don't think it is. Because it's like what you're saying. It's about the connection with your audience. And I think even crafting a lecture or something like that, if you think it out and you think about how you're going to convey it, that's important. And that's also a performance in a way. Right. And really talented lecturers are really good at communicating ideas to their students for that reason. And I think they take the performance aspect seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a laser show and everything.
Right.
Although it could be. That's cool.
I would go see that. Yeah.
Yeah. What about your trio? Should they have a laser show?
We would love a laser show. Absolutely. As soon as we can get one, basically.
Right. Well, people got to get on the Kickstarter.
What's that?
People got to get on the Kickstarter.
That's our next Kickstarter project is lasers. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the trio definitely has fun when we put on a concert. Great. And I think people like that because it keeps it fun for them, I think. Right. We're up there laughing at each other and that encourages the audience to join in. And then we play a mix, quite a wide mix of music. Some of it's folk based in a lot of ways, and I think really familiar sounding to the audience, even if they haven't heard that particular piece before. And then, just kind of across the spectrum too. The Philip Glass has been interesting because that almost always gets interesting reactions from the audience. They usually comment on that.
Negative?
No, positive. Usually.
Okay.
Usually positive.
When you said interesting, I wasn't sure where.
Well, interesting for me, but positive.
Oh, okay, I see. I was going to say, I can't imagine people not liking Philip Glass.
Right, yeah, it doesn't sound, bad. It's not going to hurt your ears. Yeah.
Not like that Stravinsky. Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Terrible in like a really fun way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try to present a wide variety of things and just kind of have fun doing it. And I don't know, it's worked for us so far. We've been very, very happy and grateful for all of the support we've received so far. Like our Kickstarter far exceeded our expectations.
Great, cool.
So yeah, it's been really nice. People, I think, support maybe the community part of it is something that they're recognizing. They're seeing like, that they're doing something that's in ways helping everyone around them, and that's really nice. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I think It's important. I think it's like a comedian. Like an audience will pick up in 2 seconds if a comedian doesn't think what they're saying is funny.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. You gotta be committed to what you're doing and what you're presenting.
Or if you see a band, you want to believe they're all best buddies.
Right. That's true.
It's not fun if you think they don't like each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. You wanna like see the friendship in the community because that's what you want to be part of. Yep. You don't want to be part of a dysfunctional relationship.
Or if you do, that's maybe you have some issues.
There's some other problems there, yeah.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to try playing something?
I would. Yeah, awesome. That'd be cool.
Sweet. Any instrument is fine. I thought I'd go classical.
Yeah, I think classical is great. We'll relive those Madison days.
Yeah. Did we play? We played Bio de Gude?
We did, yeah. You know, it's funny because my trio now plays that piece as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. It's actually on our album.
Oh, that's great. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. But yeah, you brought that piece to us. So
right, because I played it with Chris Allen.
Oh, really?
My first semester there.
Wow. Okay.
Chris Allen and maybe Miles or AJ. Yeah. I don't remember who the third was in the group, but yeah, I always liked it.
Yeah, it's a cool piece. It's really fun. Yeah, exactly.
All those tritones. It's great.
Yeah, it's just nothing but lots of tritones at the beginning.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, this has been as weird as just like scratches to like the last one I did was like a blues jam. So it could be anything.
Yeah, I wanted to have some options here, so let's just maybe grab a pick. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I have any slides at the house here with me because I definitely would have done some of that.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
Neat.
What do you think?
Very atmospheric.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I think it worked.
I think so. That's something.
I like how
Cool.
it went. I don't know. It went like fourths and semi bluesy, tonal something. It was cool. That was like out of nowhere. That was a good decision. I liked it.
I like that. Yeah. Well, I figure it's a very guitaristic thing. Is the fourths, so let's lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like an avant-garde Western film.
Yeah. I think that sounds right.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's good.
Well,
right.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me today. Is there anything else you wanted that I didn't hit that you wanted to talk about that you're up to, or anything ideas you've had?
I feel like we hit the big things, talked about the album, the concert, the series thing, and I think it was good. I wasn't worried about an outline. I felt like the conversation was pretty good, pretty natural.
Sweet.
Flowed well. So
yeah, I think so.
Cool. Thank you so much. This was cool.
Thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it. It was fun to get to talk to you about the stuff you're working on and your thoughts on music, and then play a little bit. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Right. Yeah, I feel like any of these topics we could just keep talking endlessly.
I find that when you get into a good topic, it's like then you need two, 3 beers, and then
that would have been a good idea.
Right.
Anyway, but no, it was great. Good to see you and talk to you again, Anthony.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Thanks for listening or watching, depending on if you are watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast stream. Please remember to check out Erik Gibelyou and his Trio Ghidorah. Their album, Dances and Fantasies, is out now, both available on CD and wherever you listen to your music via streaming. And also, remember to leave a comment, and subscribe to my channels. And if you would like to consider supporting my content, please visit my Patreon page. Thanks. Bye.